Hey guys, Chris Murphy here. I've got the amazing Chris Hill today. Hey Chris.
How you doing, Chris?
Yeah,
Great to be here.
cheers. Thanks for doing this call, Chris. So Chris is an addiction expert, helps people overcome addictions, gets their lives back on track. Chris has had a history of drug addiction, and he lost his twin brother. And he's got an amazing story of how he overcome addiction, and also he's helped transform so many lives. He's also a great author, a really good book, Get Your Life Back, which I've got a copy of and I've read. And I highly encourage everyone to give it a listen. Chris has also done a couple of talks for me as well. Really inspirational guy. So Chris, I guess starting off, we covered some great stuff before we got started. Just in terms of what's going on at the moment, what the problem is, people are finding themselves maybe escaping from their own minds. They can't be with themselves. Just give me some ideas, some thoughts of what you think's happening at the moment with people.
I mean, it's a difficult time for everybody. None of us chose this situation. It's been put upon us. I think as a country, I think we're managing quite well. But underneath the surface, there are problems going on, and the phone lines haven't stopped for myself because when everybody stops doing what they were doing and rushing around and doing their 9 to 5 jobs and everything else, when we all get forced into stay at home, then what people are actually left with is the mind chatter that's going on in their head. Now most of the time we can ignore it or not hear it because we're so busy in life, but now people are stuck indoors. Those thoughts of maybe drinking more or smoking more or eating more or gambling more or taking recreational drugs, um, we've got to a point where we can't turn that off. And so people are sitting indoors and they're twiddling their fingers and thinking, right, what are we going to do? And so then the mind is almost deciding for them. And it's not like the mind chatter is so loud. It's the situation has put us into a lower emotional state. As good as we're managing it, the whole country and the whole world really is suffering with anxiety. Suffering with fear. Stress, anxiety about my work. I've still got a job. Where's my money coming from? How am I going to pay the bills? I've got to put the mortgage on hold. I've got to put my credit cards on hold. How am I going to, all of these things is anxiety. But anxiety is pushing us down on an emotional level. So as we're being pushed down on an emotional level, somewhere here there's a trigger. And what that trigger is the mind thinks we've got to get this person out of a low emotional state. It's a bit like hunger. When we have hunger, we have a lower emotional state. So that's the trigger for the mind to say, go eat. So as we're being pushed down on an emotional level with the anxiety and stress, the mind's saying, oh, to get out of this, let's drink some more. Or let's go onto the internet and shop some more, watch some porn or, smoke some more or, get some recreational drugs or, basically what the mind's doing is trying to find the quickest, easiest route out of the anxiety to make that person feel better about themselves. Now we all know that if we have a drink or smoke a cigarette or eat sugary food, we're going to get a hit. It's instantaneous, isn't it? You eat a piece of chocolate, all of a sudden you feel good about yourself because the brain releases dopamine into the brain and to the body. It makes you feel good. So we're looking for our go-tos. Now when you're busy doing your day-to-day work, being busy, we can manage that little voice, that craving, that whatever it might be. But when you're sitting indoors and you've got nothing to do, it's very difficult to switch that off because the mind is a system. It's not like me and you. It's not a person. It's a survival mechanism, and we've trained our mind to enjoy these things like alcohol and cigarettes and food and drugs and whatever it might be. But once you've trained the mind into this is pleasure, then the mind will go for that pleasure. And if you can't quieten the mind, then it's very, very difficult to sit there and not do these things. So as much as a country we're coping, there's a lot of people that may be struggling at this moment. And if you are, and if you're one of these people that are struggling, then what I teach is a very simple tool of self-talk, which helps you manage that chatter, that voice, that those thoughts. Because when you have the thoughts, it comes with emotions and feelings. So if you can manage the mind, you can control the emotion. And we do a free, and I know we talk about our website, but we do a free 7-day plan that you can just download for free. You can go to my website, beatmyaddictions.com, and you just download it, and it's an instruction manual. Basically, you read the manual and it gives you the education on how to use self-talk techniques. And if you do that, then if you're sitting here now, then all of a sudden you'll be able to start to manage those thoughts. Or if you have found that you're over consuming food or drinking more, smoking more, you can start to take more control of that. Or, you know, even better, you might want to actually just get rid of one of those things, because now is a really good time, because we have the time to actually study and learn something new and change something in our lives. Because, you know, the likelihood is we're all going back in a couple of weeks. I think we've got about 2 more weeks, you know, depending on when this podcast comes out. But we have a couple more weeks. So in a couple more weeks, you know, me and Chris, we talked about this just before we got on. You know, every day for the last 4 weeks, or however long we've been in lockdown, it is about 4 weeks. It's like every day's a Sunday. You know, it's Sunday traffic, it's Sunday people, it's Sunday walk in the park, walk around the lake. It's like, you know, so we've been like in Groundhog Day, stuck it on a Sunday for the last 4 weeks. Now that's been good, because, you know, it's allowed us to relax, you know, find ourselves again, you know, spend more time with our loved ones, our immediate family. So that's all good. So, but then how do you adjust when you've got to go back to the 9 to 5? You've got to go back to traveling to work, you know, be it in traffic or traffic jams or trains or tubes or whatever it might be. You know, how do you do that 9 to 5 job and the little bit extra that we always done? And then how do you travel back and then cook dinner, clean the house, sort the kids out, you know, watch the 10 o'clock news, and then we're back into that, you know, circle again. That's going to be very difficult for people. And so not only are we managing anxiety and stress here, we're gonna be hit again when we go back to our normal lifestyle. So you know, the sooner we take control of this, you know, be it your mind and your emotions and your feelings, the better you'll be able to transition between the two. The better you'll be able to manage the anxiety or addictions or anything that you may have here, to transition yourself back into normal life. And that's what we're trying to prepare people for. Because if you think about things like I don't know, PTSD, you know, this is the aftermath of a trauma, of something bad that's happened. You know, with 20,000 plus people and myself, I've, you know, lost people that I know close to me already. You know, we're already in trauma. You know, so what comes after trauma is PTSD. You know, it's the aftermath, and people might start getting phobias of going outside, being scared of touching someone. You know, that's the OCD now coming in. You know, we've got all of these things, the aftermath of trauma, that may be kicking in again. How do you manage that? How do you control that? Again, it's understanding how the system works, because trauma, OCD, phobias, and that come from the mind. The mind's seen trauma and then it wires to it, and it says, "Oh, don't go out, don't touch that person, don't sit on a bus, don't go on a train." You know, but we have to get on a bus. We have to get on a tube. We have to go to work. So it's now managing that trauma. You know, I remember once I was involved in a car accident, and, you know, it wasn't a terrible car accident, but it was a bang, it was a shock, it was like cars damaged, it was like, oh my goodness, you know, and so, you know, sort the insurance out and everything else. But the following day, when I got into the car, I had fear. You know, when I got out of the car, it was like the fear was still there. You know, for a couple of weeks, you know, I was having to use like some self-talk techniques, because my mind believed that driving was now fearful, it was scary. And so it's just a natural reaction that we're going to, you know, develop some of these conditions after this or as we then go back into normal life. So our job really is you can't control this, you can't control the virus, can't control what's happening out here, but what you can control is the way that you're experiencing it. And the more you practice self-talk and talking to yourselves, and and it's just the same as what Chris teaches, coming out of our comfort zones and everything else, because to come out again, we're going to feel uncomfortable, but as Chris teaches, being uncomfortable is actually a good thing, because it's the time to learn, it's the time to train the mind again, it's the time to take a new experience. Every day for us is a new experience. None of us could ever be writing this script that's happening now, but it is happening now. I always say to people, I pinch myself thinking, is this a dream? Am I waking up? I'm walking in the supermarkets and people are with face masks and gloves and and we're queuing for hours. It's just, you're just thinking, this is not, nobody on the streets of London. It's like, I remember just before we got locked down, I went to Blue Water, and I got to Blue, it was 12 o'clock. I think it was on I don't know if it was a Saturday or a Sunday, but and I got into Blue Water, and I went to the Apple shop because I needed to get something for my phone, and the Apple shop was shut, and the Apple staff were standing outside all huddled together with masks and gloves, and I said, what's going on? And they said, look, we're really sorry, but we're now shut until this virus goes. And I walked off, and then I looked round, and there wasn't any people. There wasn't anyone there. And I took a picture just to capture it. It was like, what's going on? It was just, like that eerie sort of feeling. You're thinking, something's really wrong here. And that was just the beginning. And then, be it a week later, we got locked down, and and I was trying to say to people, something bad is coming. We need to get prepared for this. And but and this is why, for a lot of people, we've gone into a little bit of shock and stuff like that. So but like I said, that's 4 or 5 weeks ago now. This is where we are, but we have got light at the end of the tunnel now. If you just look to Italy, I've got clients in Italy, and I've been staying in touch with them, and they've always been a couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks in front of us. So if you need a guide of what's happening here, you just look to Italy, because Italy are now being allowed back out. Still social distancing, but they are being allowed back out. Things are going to start to, you can go see your relatives and things like this. So that's where we are going to be in the next couple of weeks. So we have light at the end of the tunnel, but with that, you have to now prepare yourself for all of those things that are coming, like going back to work, going back to seeing relatives, dealing with the people that have lost people. I know 20,000 plus people doesn't sound a lot, but someone's going to know someone that's been in hospital, been on a ventilator, been through the trauma. Hundreds of thousands of people have gone down with this virus, even though, they're not showing all the figures, because they're frightened to. They don't want to frighten the public, but everyone's going to know someone that's had the experience or suffered or something like that. So it's a time that, we come together collectively. The other day I done a seminar, completely free. We had something like 600-700 people sign up to it. It was like, we're collectively, personal development trainers, people that care, are doing this, just trying to help as many people as possible, and that's the good thing. Collectively, we're coming out of this together, and and I believe that we're going to come out stronger. We're going to come out different, without a shadow of a doubt. How we were living then isn't how we're going to be living now, and we will have to adjust, but we will adjust and be stronger. But it's going to take us into a new era, and what that is, I don't know. We have to embrace what's coming, and just see where it takes us to. I do talk a lot, by the way.
I remember well, Chris. Yeah, I mean, obviously there's a lot in that, and yeah, sometimes different to normal interviews. Whereas, but you obviously carrying the momentum, going with the flow. And like you said, Chris, you ended with, you know, going into the, I even felt like a lot more optimistic, like we're getting through this, we're going to get through this. And I think just to share from my perspective as well, as I mentioned to you before, I'm obviously Mr. Personal Growth, get out your comfort zone, but I fell back into a comfort zone. I think this is, but the more I've started to realize now that, you know, you can still find that freedom. I know you went for a run and you were doing some exercises in the garden and you put it on Facebook, and I could just see that you were going for it. And that's happened to me more recently, because I started to feel quite unfulfilled, with the sort of addiction, because you think, oh, I can do what I want, and you can watch TV and you can play computer games. And, you know, I started falling back into that. And there were days where I think I played a computer game for the whole day. And I got to the end of the day and I was just I was like, what have I done today? I felt unfulfilled, you know, because I've gone through a lot of my days giving back to people, helping people, you know, learning more about myself. And it's like when you strip that away, it feels quite empty. But for some reason, Chris, you still keep falling back into that. You know, like I did a video on like drinking and pornography and these things that I've, you know, cut back. And but for some reason you fall back, and you're doing it unconsciously. You know, you're just you know, it makes you feel really bad, and then the next day you do it again, and it's like you're beating yourself up. So I guess, you know, what is really happening, and I guess how people here watching now are like, look, I know I've got this addiction to shopping or gambling or whatever. How do I get past it? What are some of the things I can do now?
Yeah. Again, the best thing to do at this moment is about education. Before you can change a behaviour, a habit, an addiction, whatever it is, you have to educate yourself around the mind. You know, so many people are falling back, you know, and it's not anyone's fault. You know, it's unprecedented times that we're experiencing large amounts of anxiety. So like I said, the system, the mind will look for the quickest route out of this. And your go-to might have been sugar or porn or alcohol, or cigarettes or drugs or whatever it might be. Whatever it was, is your job is to recognise the behaviour, a bit like what you've done. You played video games all day, you've got the enjoyment, but then the realisation is, I've just wasted a whole day on what? I've not been productive, I've not, you know, fulfilled my, you know, emotionals that I've released dopamine, you've been getting a hit, but where's the emotion? Where's the heartfelt, you know, that's what life is about. How do we feel about ourselves? You came out of that, you know, dopamine hit and then felt bad about yourself. It's a bit like when someone does a big drug session, you know, they're up for about 12 hours, but then after the drugs stop, it's the realization, what have I just done? You know, and so it's trying to recognize, okay, that isn't good behavior. That isn't good part of my time. But to correct it, you need to understand the system. And this is why I would encourage anybody watching this now, just go to my website, beatmyaddictions.com, download the free 7-day plan and read it, because it's education that helps you remove a behavior or change or manage a behavior. A little bit like food, you know, we're not going to stop eating, but we could remove some more of the addictive foods, you know, like the sugar cravings or the caffeine or the, you know, other things that might, and I only say might, they might be causing you a problem, they might not. You see, you don't maybe have to remove them, but if you perceive something to be a problem, then in my book it's always going to be a problem. So just get rid of it. Or, you know, if you want to just try to manage it, then again, your job is to manage the mind. You know, the mind is just a system. You know, it's go to, or it will revert back to old behaviors if you don't manage it. It's a bit like a child, isn't it? You know, you teach a child to be good, and, you know, but if it all goes wrong, the child's just going to go crazy again and repeat the old childish behaviour. So it's about trying to manage the child whilst we go through this, because once we come through the trauma, we're going to go back to normal life again, you know, and that's what we need to do. We just need to get back to what we had. But I always say now is a very good time to change a behaviour, because we have the time. but like I said, that my whole program is about you talking to the mind. It's
Mm,
using a self-talk technique to speak to the emotion, that thought. I've got to go gaming. I've got to eat that food. It's knowing that the thought's coming, or
mm,
it's hearing the thought, but then making a different choice. Every single one person has the ability of choice. See,
mm,
we are the decision maker. See, the mind isn't a decision maker. The mind is a guide. The physical body, the thoughts, feelings, and emotions are a guide. That they're not you. That
mm,
they're trying to shove you in a direction. But it's up to you whether you take that
mm,
decision. But if you don't know about the system, when you
mm.
get thoughts, feelings, and emotion, you'll act.
Yeah, like
It's
unconsciously, you just
unconsciously.
keep doing it. Yeah.
You
And
know,
what would you say as well, Chris? Like people, I mean, this is even myself. I think sometimes you look at the addiction or whatever it is, and some people are so convinced like this is if I don't have this, I'm going to be unhappy. And like with drinking, if you're drinking every night, you're like, well, I have to. Do you think as well people are so fixated on the fact that this lockdown is bad? And I think you mentioned, we spoke before, this can be a good thing. Looking that this can be a good thing as well. So.
yeah, I
Um,
mean, yeah. So just two things. So
yeah.
the first thing would be, if I stop drinking,
Mm,
I won't have happiness anymore. If I get rid of this, my last crutch, where does that leave me? And that is the fear that's created by the mind to stop you actually stopping drinking or stopping a behaviour. So it's just recognising the difference between, are my thoughts positive or negative? And this is how you'll distinguish between, is this me or is this my mind? See, if a thought is positive, yeah, it's actually coming from you. Yeah, see, you are the positive part of you. But if something's negative, it's always coming from the mind. So if the mind
mm,
says, if you say to yourself, I'm going to stop drinking, but then the mind says to you, but that's taking away our last pleasure. That's us, might as well give up then. So that's a thought of the mind. It's not of you. So it's trying to distinguish between the two. Remember, you are the positive part of you. We're like an electrical circuit. There has to be
mm,
a plus and a minus. You are the plus. The mind is the minus. So it's just trying to recognise those things. But then at the same time, what we were talking about before was there is a good side to this lockdown. There is these good things. If we've been living in Groundhog Day Sunday for the last 4 weeks, it's been quite relaxing. It's given us time to spend with ourselves, with our loved ones, our most immediate loved ones. It's given us time to plan, to decorate the house, to do the gardening, to get back with nature, to go for a walk, start exercising. The biggest thing out of all of this is that the whole country is exercising. We're exercising our hour of that we're allowed out, and we're using it to fill our lungs and taking some sun and get the metabolisms working and everything else. So there's lots of good things that have been happening. It's trying to, if we can get our pleasures here, instead of looking for the crutch, the drink, nature gave us everything that we was ever going to need. Nature gave us 27 different emotions to experience life, and but all the time we have addictions like alcohol and cigarettes and caffeine and sugar and all of these things. It suppresses those emotions, and the mind only sees, because when you eat chocolate, we get a massive dopamine release. But when you walk out into the sunshine, you're not getting a massive dopamine release. So
mm,
you don't consciously recognize it. You're just looking at, I've got to go out in the sunshine to get to the sweet shop to get my chocolate.
mm,
And we miss nature. So stop, concentrating on the chocolate and
mm,
enjoy nature. And then you'll start to feel good about yourself, instead of having to consume something or do something that you're looking for the quick fix. Change your behavior and see that there's so much more in life that we can
mm,
get pleasure from, and it's non-harmful. Someone smiling at you is non-harmful. Opening a door for someone is non-harmful. Sitting
mm,
in your garden listening to birds and you know the day going by is non-harmful to us. But playing a video game all day long, is quite harmful to the brain, because there's an outcome to it. Is we're addicted. It's like, I've got to get to the next level. I've got to beat you. I've got to get the next player. I've got to, you're in a state of panic. It's not relaxing. It's like, it's almost fight or flight again. It's life and death. I've got to do this and I've got to do this. After 12 hours, you're like, what have I been doing? But if you spent 12 hours with nature, you wouldn't feel bad about yourself, would you?
No, absolutely not, Chris. And like you said, I think what happened, and I can relate back to how I used to be I remember I used to drink all the time and stuff like that. And probably don't like now. I mean, even now, I probably cut it out for a while, but then I'd like with my flatmate ask if I want a glass of wine, but I have one glass of wine and then I'm like, that's it, or two glasses. I'm like, I can't, there's no point drinking. And I question why I was able to keep doing it. I think there's that social element. But what I found recently, Chris, I've been doing a couple of challenges I've set myself, and with a few other people, we're doing like cold showers, getting up at 5 a.m. at the moment. And it just makes you feel so much, I don't know, it's just like, it's great with life being able to do that rather than the same day is always the same Groundhog Day. I think you can make you can make it like in the movie, if he just kept living the same day over and over again, it'd be boring, but he keeps improving and he finds out more about life. And that movie is probably a great example of what we can go off, isn't it?
Yeah.
How to improve. So what is happening actually on that, Chris, with the, say the computer game, you say, I'm just going to play it for an hour and then you just play it all day, or you drink, or like, why are people going past that one drink or two drink, where I feel it in my body now, like I shouldn't drink anymore because I'm going to lose my consciousness, but people will just keep drinking. Like, what are they actually doing there?
Yeah. So to really explain that is the people that push the boundaries, like yourself, with gaming, instead of just gaming for an hour, a couple of hours, you push the boundaries. Listen, I'm an adult, I'm on my own, I can do what I want. And so what that says is I get pleasure from gaming, so I'm going to game all day. Same as someone that drinks, for yourself, you can drink one or two drinks and think, do you know what, I've had enough. But for someone else, they have one or two drinks and say, no, I like this, I'm going to drink all day. And for those people, and technically what it means is that's a strong-willed person. When you push the boundaries to, I'm just going to drink all day because I enjoy it, I'm going to game all day because I enjoy it. The problem is that when you push the boundaries, when you realise that this behaviour is actually now causing you harm, when you try to go back to social drinking or social gaming or for a couple of hours, when you try to do it, the mind doesn't accept that that's enough, because the mind remembers that we can go all day. So those one or two glasses of wine for the person that's been drinking all day isn't enough. It doesn't satisfy the body. The body says, no, that's a starter, but where's the rest? You do 2 hours on gaming. Well, that was good, Chris, but where's the rest of it? And so then the system will actually create bad emotions inside of you, because it knows that you can push the boundaries further. And so the mind is encouraging you because it wants you to have the pleasure. The mind doesn't understand the outcome, the bad that comes afterwards. So the mind is just looking for the pleasure. It doesn't see the outcomes. And so it's up to you, the conscious person, to recognize the behavior. Okay, I've pushed the boundaries before, but you know what? It caused me a lot of harm, so I won't be doing that anymore. And it's then having the dialogue with the mind to be able to change that behavior. It sounds simple. It just takes it takes education and then practice. So I always say to people, start with the free 7-day plan. If you wanted something more than that, then we do like a video online course. If you wanted more than that and you are struggling, then, we do mentorship, and then we would actually take people through that. But the majority of people just reading that simple program, 7-day plan, it's about control. Just take back control of the system to give yourself better choices. That's how we do it.
Amazing stuff, Chris. Yeah. I guess I know you need to go shortly, but as a final question, I mean that answered so much for me. Yeah, it's interesting. It's like a computer program that's in your mind that's using that as evidence. Like, well, you've done that before, and I think that is in some areas I've been able to break maybe say certain addictions, and then some other things you lose control. Um, and sometimes it's still like I've been eating really healthy, and then all of a sudden I just lose it all of a sudden and just eat like big bag of crisps, loads of chocolate, and I'm like, what the hell has happened there? And you mentioned as well, like I mentioned to you as well, like I read some of Alan Carr's books, not the comedian,
Yeah,
but I
like
recommend.
smoking, yeah.
Yeah, about the smoking and the alcohol and caffeine as well. I read a bit of, and I've introduced like caffeine and alcohol in small moderations now. But what he talks about in his books, which I thought was interesting, just to get your thoughts, and I think just in general as society, a lot of these things, these things aren't good for you. Like your body kind of rejects it. So would you say for someone like yourself who is addicted to alcohol and drugs, obviously I think you're sober, like you don't drink now, do you?
No,
Yeah.
yes,
So did you find it better to cut out alcohol completely and understand that there is actually no pleasure in it and you found pleasure elsewhere? And would you recommend people who have an addiction in a certain thing to cut that out completely? Because some things you just can't do in moderation. Like you said, I could have a glass of wine now, no problem. But for some people, they just always have to go for more.
Mm. Yeah, so what I teach is this: you're either in or you're out. There
Mm,
are some grey areas when it comes to food, because I teach weight loss and food management and stuff like that. But if we were just talking about alcohol and stuff like that, it's difficult to manage. For someone like me, I didn't really have a stop button. Once I started drinking, I would just carry on drinking. As good as I had the intention of only drinking a couple, a couple was in me, um, the thought of stopping wasn't even there, and I would just carry on. At different times, I could manage it. Have a couple of beers or a couple of glasses of wine. But once I was out in a green light situation where there was no one around to tell me what to do, then it was just I couldn't stop. So for me there isn't a compromise. For me it's I don't drink. I mean, I still have never stopped going out. I still you would drink non-alcoholic beer, wine. I mean, we're in a very good um, time now where all the drinks industry have brought out non-alcoholic drinks. So I still are able to socialise and stuff like that. If you was asking me my personal opinion, if anyone sees alcohol as any kind of problem, go sober. The best decision I made almost, probably 13 plus years ago now, was to go sober. The moment I went sober, all my problems just seemed to disappear,
well,
and I'd be living a very good life. I'd already got rid of the recreational drugs before. I did hang on to alcohol, same as everyone else, believing that alcohol is our pleasure and everything else. But the realization is alcohol is probably the biggest confidence trick that's been played on society for hundreds and maybe thousands of years. But now I'm free of it. I'm free to tell that tale and that story. And anyone that wants to get sober, if you want to get in touch with me, I'm happy to give some advice and stuff. But again, for the people that don't want to be sober, carry on enjoying your alcohol. As long as it's not causing you a problem. I got pleasure from alcohol for years. So there are two sides to it. I'm not here to tell people what to do or what not to do. It's completely up to you. But you can only change something that you see it be a problem. If you can't see it as a problem, you won't have a why, and it won't be strong enough to reprogram the system. Again, there's lots more I can teach, but unfortunately we're running out of time. So
yeah, Chris, thanks a lot for your time today. I'll leave a link to the 7-day program to download and also a link to your book. And then any other final things? I know you're on Facebook a lot. You're always doing runs and stuff like that and charity
find me on Facebook, Chris Hill Beat My Addictions. I also run a charity where we offer help and support up and down the country. I put it all online at the moment. If you just go to robhillfoundation.org, so it's robhillfoundation.org. You can come and have a look at our charity work. You can come and make a donation. As Chris said a little bit earlier, I've done a a mammoth marathon run. I have to call it a mammoth marathon run because we had a little bit of a technical issue, and I ran about 30 plus miles instead of 26.2. So I'm trying not to think about how many miles I run, but listen, it was in a good cause. We've done some tremendous stuff. We help an awful lot of people, thousands of people. So come and find us, come and follow us, and yeah, and thank you to Chris again. I've spoken at a couple of his events now. Really inspiring, by the way. You're an inspiring guy, and all of the things, be it jumping out of planes and doing all the crazy stuff that you do. It inspires me to try and emulate what you do as well, Chris. So you're an amazing guy, and thank you for doing this interview. It's great.
Awesome, Chris. Thanks a lot, man. I'm sure everyone's going to find this really valuable. So appreciate your time and your thoughts.
All right, cheers, buddy.
All right, mate. Catch you soon.